What is going on? Last week, I asked on social media what the biggest question people had about APM programs were. By far, the most common response was, how do I make my application stand out? People are coming to me like, klau, I've seen your last video about how to break into product management, and in every single method, you talk about how it's just difficult. Supply and demand, not in your favor. There's like thousands of people applying for like 100 positions. How do I stand out? Today, we're going to talk about exactly that. My background is in product management, so the examples I'll use are going to be product management examples, but know that the principles that we talk about in this video are universally applicable to any type of job. If you Google this question, you will find a lot of advice that says you need a really good resume. You have to apply with a cover letter. You have to apply with a referral. And that is absolutely correct. But if you can Google that, so can everyone else. So how do you really stand out from the crowd? The answer is how you do them. Those are the right things to do, but the devil is in the details. And today, we're going to talk about exactly how you nail them every single time. Let's go.
Maximum effort.
Hello, friends. If you're new here, my friends call me klau. I'm a product manager at Instacart and former Uber APM and Kleiner Perkins product fellow. And on this channel, we talk about all things early product management, career-related, tech, and my life as a PM in Silicon Valley, although currently Hawaii. Before we dig into how to make your job application stand out, I'm going to assume for the rest of this video that you've already seen my other video about how to write a proper resume and cover letter. Those are the basics, and today we're going to build on top of those basics. So if you haven't seen it already, pause this video, go check out a link to that video in the description, watch it, and then come back to this. Quick recap. For any job application, there are 3 phases. Phase 1, get the interview. Phase 2, get the job offer. Phase 3, negotiate the best possible compensation for that job offer. A lot of people think phase 3 is a bonus. It's not. It's required. You 100% should be negotiating. But that's a topic for another day. So specifically, when we talk about making your job application stand out, we are talking about phase 1. And let's specifically define what standing out means. It basically means that your application needs to appear superior to that of the competition. Now, the thing to realize is that people are not looking for 100% competency in job application. If you had 100% of the skills for a specific job, you're what we call overqualified. The ideal ratio is somewhere between 50 to 70 to 80%. Companies actually want to find candidates that have a bit of a gap, because then they can like pitch to you that, hey, like if you come to this company and do this job, you'll be able to learn like this differential and become better in your career. In fact, some programs, Facebook, even weed out people who they think have too much experience and that make you're overqualified for the job. So again, the goal is you need to demonstrate that you're more high potential than everyone else. And there are 3 ways to do this. 1, demonstrate that you've already to a certain degree done the job. 2, that you have a strong foundation of peripheral knowledge that'll help you learn as fast as possible. And 3, that you're an ambitious, go-getter, energetic, fast learner type person. These are the key things that you want to communicate through the different channels, through your resume, through your LinkedIn DMs asking for a referral, through your cover letter. They kind of apply across the board. And all the principles we talked about in my last video about resumes still apply here. You got to be succinct and you have to be relevant, as personalized to the specific job, role, and company as possible. All right, let's talk about those 3 main points in detail now, starting with how you show that you've already done it before. Now, obviously, the easiest way to demonstrate this by far is if you've done the job before already. If you're applying for an APM program and you've done a PM internship before, you have a big leg up on everybody else, and you should 100% obviously emphasize that in your entire application. But now you're like, okay, klau, we know that the only thing that's harder than getting a new grad PM job is getting a PM internship. So if I'm part of the masses that have not been able to secure a PM internship before, what do I do? And the answer is you say that you've done different parts of the job before. You can think about a job as kind of an amalgamation, a grouping of different responsibilities and skills. If you haven't done the job before, it means you can't succinctly say that you've done all these things. So the next best thing is to make a list of this, and literally you should do this. Open a Google Doc and just do a ton of research. Look at the job description, go read up on what a day in the life is like, go read some blog posts that other people have written about what the job entails, and write down what all the skills and requirements are essentially for that job. And then in another doc, or maybe in the same doc, I don't know, write down a list of all of your previous experiences. Work experience, volunteer experience, that startup that you started 3 years ago that didn't really pan out. Maybe you started a nonprofit. listed it all out. For junior product management roles specifically, let me speed up that process for you a little bit and provide you this grossly oversimplified checklist of PM skills. Boom. And then once you have the two, you're gonna try and draw parallels. You're gonna see how many of your previous experiences you can frame with respect to the job requirements. And here's the caveat, it's probably not gonna be super obvious. Because you haven't actually done the job before, what you're probably looking for is like a side experience that was once part of the main experience. So this might take some thought. Get creative. Maybe during your software engineering internship, you spent an hour working with your PM on requirements for a specific project. And honestly, in practice, you probably just did that because you had some spare time, or your manager was busy and your PM needed someone to talk to. Who knows? It probably just felt like, oh yeah, why not? I'll do this thing. But for the purposes of your resume, you can say that, hey, I've actually done some requirement writing. Product requirement writing is a huge part of being a PM, and you should definitely highlight and storytell around that in your application. Be it in your resume, you might want to highlight it as a specific bullet, or in your cover letter, you might want to mention that you've done product work before, or that you've been leading into doing that. And certainly when you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, definitely mention that you've actively been trying to do PM work despite not having had the job title before. The next way to demonstrate that you are a more high potential candidate than others is to show that you have a wealth of foundational knowledge that sets you up to learn and grow faster than everyone else. Mostly by demonstrating knowledge and experience within the industry or within the role itself. Even though you haven't done it before, you know about it, you've been reading about it, you've been studying it. And it doesn't have to be your major, it could be a minor, it could be even just be one offshoot course that you did for fun. For example, for product management, maybe you did just a random course on decision making under uncertainty, or you did a course on optimization. Maybe you were part of a relevant school club. Maybe you helped organize an event. Maybe peripherally you were somehow able to get a sense of what industry best practices look like. And you could have gotten this context in a wide variety of ways. Maybe you worked on a side project with other friends who are engineers or designers before. Maybe you've actually done one of those jobs before. Maybe in school you took a course about design, or a course about data science, or a course about software engineering. All these things, great things to highlight. And the biggest major key about this is that it doesn't have to be backward looking entirely. You can literally start today. You can start a side project in a relevant area. You can start blogging about it on Substack. You can start taking an online course on Coursera for free. You don't have to have been doing it for forever. Just start it, and then you can already talk about it on your resume. Now, to be clear, I'm not just saying do a thing so you can put it on your resume, because it'll actually come back to bite you. Because if this is the thing that differentiates your resume from other people, it's highly likely that your interviewer will actually ask you about it. And if you applied in August and your interview is in September, October, and you have nothing to show for it in the last 2 to 3 months, people are going to be like, are you just saying this? Are you a phone? Are you a poser right now, man? What are you doing? Ideally, what you want is to start now, put it on your resume. You can already talk about the things that you're doing. And by the time you get to the interview, a month or two later, you'll have actually gotten some early traction. You'll have some, success or progress or impact metrics to talk about in the interview. That is by far the best outcome if you're starting now. And now the last thing here is to have a good learning attitude. You want to demonstrate that you're ambitious and you learn fast and you're energetic. This is a thing that is simultaneously overrated and underrated in a weird kind of way. It's underrated in that a lot of people, especially applicants like you or me, don't really appreciate the benefits of just being like a high energy individual. When you give energy to people in the room, even during interview or when you're learning something, like everyone's kind of happier. And when you're happier, having fun, like you'll learn faster. So that's actually like a huge thing. But why is it overrated? Well, it's because everyone can kind of do it. A lot of people will discount you for this because it's kind of a minimum bar if you want to think about it that way. Everyone can do it. It's partially an attitude thing and partially just being a try-hard thing. How does this manifest in the application process? Again, to draw from product management examples, it's things like actually doing the take-home assignment that you get sent by the company. Are you attending info sessions about the role and asking good questions to stand out from the crowd and not like the half-assed, like I'm trying to ask a good question type good question, like an actually, I've clearly done research into this industry and this company, into this role, And based off of that, I'm asking something about like the future of the company that is actually insightful. Are you spending time customizing your emails and your DMs to the specific role, to the specific team, maybe even to the specific person that's hiring for that job? Most of this stuff is a function of effort. But here's the secret sauce. This last pillar, which is so, commoditized, it shines the most when you are able to combine it with the other two that we just talked about. Let me give you an example. You're applying to a product management job, and let's say you read about the company in some TechCrunch article that they're launching a new product line. You put together a proposal document for how you think that product line could improve in the next iteration. You outline 3 potential approaches, detailing documenting your thoughts on each one. You provide sound reasoning on why you recommend this specific one over the other 2. You even provide a rough guess on how long you would take engineering to do this, and you give a rough schematic on what changes would need to be made. You provide some mocks about what this solution would potentially look like from the user's perspective. And you provide a rough attempt at an experimentation framework, what the experiment setup would look like, what variants you would want to test, what success metrics would look like, and you provide a decision tree on we would have to see this much movement on this key metric before we decide to launch. You write this up, it's succinct and concise, and only takes about a page or 2. You go to the trouble of finding out who the hiring manager is for the job that you're interested in. And then you send them this LinkedIn DM. You say, "Hi, so-and-so. I'm a big fan of this company and this product, and I had some ideas on how it could be even better. And in fact, I've written up a proposal document that's attached below. It's only a page or 2 long. Let me know your thoughts. If you find them interesting, I'd love to hop on a call to discuss further and learn about how you think about the problem space and the next steps that make sense here. And oh, by the way, I'm an aspiring PM actually, and I've started writing a Substack where I do teardowns of my favorite products and think about ways that I could improve them and what I would do at that company if I was the PM of that product. And oh, also, I'll be applying for your company's APM program next week. If you think I'm on the right track, I'd actually love a referral to help my application along. And if you're comfortable, feel free to forward this message to a recruiter or a hiring manager. If you took this approach to your job application, do I think your job application would stand out from the rest of the crowd? Absolutely. If you did this across 20 job applications, do I expect you to hear back from at least 2 to 5 of them? 100%. Is it extremely time intensive and hard to do while you're balancing either a full-time job or school? 100%. So is it worth it then? That kind of depends. How badly do you want your job application to stand out?